So hello guys, my name is Praval. GARP, as you know, it's a globally accredited association for risk professionals, and they are very famous for exams like say FRM, etc. And then recently they also started exams on the sustainability risk, and very recently in August 2024 they also started a new exam which is called as risk and AI. And as we know that AI has become very important for everybody in 2024, 2025 and onwards, and risks are going to be the most critical factors in the development of any applications that will indulge in AI. So just to give you a brief overview, my name is Praval, and I have an overall experience in the industry for say more than 24 years. I have a PhD on AI, so more specifically on NLP, and NLP also it's more into the semantic side and on the index NLP. So I am already a kind of a seasoned principal data scientist in one of the large IT company, and I've been working on the projects in AI from a very long time. So in the last couple of years what we have seen is that most of the projects that we do which uses AI, especially I will say the advanced AI. So when I say advanced AI, it means that the models that use some form of say deep learning, or it uses some kind of complex NLP algorithms, and which is also kind of deep learning based, but the models which are complex to comprehend, etc. So some of those models, they don't go in production. Okay, and why they don't go in production is because some of these regulators and some of these people, they don't like some of the non-explainability parts of the AI. So it becomes very important to understand the risks that comes ingrained with AI and how can we manage those risks. So this is where there is a lot of information available on the internet at various places around say responsible AI or ethical AI, or some of the regulations or some of the legislatives around AI, and GARP was very clever that they consolidated everything together and they came up with this certification called as RAI, which is encapsulated in such a manner that your overview of the risks, then your overview of the toolkits. So when I say toolkits, it includes all your supervised, unsupervised kinds of learnings, and then the ethical considerations, and then the regulatory aspects of things. So it has put everything together into this exam called as RAI. And when I started this exam, so this exam was inaugurated in August 2024, and the first batch of exam happened in the first week of December 2024. So I gave this exam, and while I was giving this exam, I found that there was no information available on the internet around these exams. So I thought it's a good idea to create a brief overview of what this exam is all about based on my experience without using anything proprietary from GARP. And then at a later point of time I am also planning to put some videos, some free videos on the YouTube, going through each and every topic that is mentioned in the exam in detail. So I was thinking maybe I'll do 2-3 videos in a week, making together of say probably 50-60 videos. So if you go through those 50-60 videos, and if you are preparing for this exam, it is going to help you out. So that's my intent. Now coming back to this RAI exam, the first thing that I would want to start in the beginning is that who is this exam for? Okay, or who should write this exam? Okay, is it for you or is it not for you? So in my personal opinion, this exam is definitely for people like me, which are data scientists, because they want to, or they should know that it's not just that the model is done and their job is done. It is very, very important that the model should see the light of the day. It needs to go into production, and what are all the considerations that they need to take apart from the math side of things. So it's for the data scientists. It's also for risk managers. So these risk managers probably come from the regulated industries, which can be FSI, which can be healthcare, or anything that has regulators, and that where the modeling part needs to go via model governance or data governance and those kinds of things. So for people who are risk managers, then this is, I would also say that this is for your senior management, which is kind of a broad term, but people who manage the AI practice in any group, or people who are responsible for some kind of a COE in an organization. So they also need to be familiar with the entire ecosystem of RAI. And anybody else, probably this can be good for the business analysts and business managers, because it might be a feather on the cap for them. But for these three categories of people, I think it will become extremely important in the future that they should know about some of these aspects, which is being overlooked these days, especially by data scientists. So what is there in this exam? So on a high level, there are 5 modules in this exam, and it is structured in such a manner that you should know each of these modules. So let me go one by one. The module 1 talks about it's more of, you can say, as an AI introduction. So it tells that what is AI, right from the start of computers and AI, Alan Turing, initial Turing machines, and then how some of these the chess engines, whether it was by IBM, something like a Deep Blue, and then how some of these game theories came into picture. And so it tries to put some kind of a foundation of what is AI and what is the risk that can come with AI. And it will also give some examples where some companies were trying to be explorative with the use of AI, or probably at that point of time it was more into rule-based heuristics, and how it got them into some kind of legal trouble. So that's the first module, which is easy to cover. The second module is called as the tools and techniques, and this is a module that will have their sub modules 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and this is kind of a module which will take you the most amount of time. There will be supervised learning, there will be unsupervised learning, there will be semi-supervised learning, there will be reinforcement learning, and then you can also, if we dig deeper, it's going to be even further, there is a chapter on regression, there is a chapter on decision trees and those kinds of things, and then there's also NLP, and then there is also Gen AI. So I don't remember if there are 10 chapters or more, but each of these chapters is going to get you into not very deep, but still quite good enough that when you are talking about regression, you should know what is bias, what is variance, what are some of these regularizations methods, like whether it is your lasso regression or whether it is your any other kind of normalization. And in NLP also, it will also tell you that, okay, this is how encodings are done, this is how RNNs are there, this is how transformers operate, but it is not going to go you into so details that how is the attention being being taken care of in transformers, etc. And Gen AI, we all know how important Gen AI is, so it is going to talk about all the latest and greatest LLMs. Let's move on to module 3. So module 3 is going to be more on risk factors. Okay, so when I say risk factors, it is going to talk to you about, and this doesn't have some modules fortunately like module 2, so it's going to talk about things like individual fairness. Okay, and then it is also going to talk about group fairness, and then there would be some mathematical interpretations of how we can make sure we take care of individual fairness or group fairness and those kinds of things. As Aristotle said, that we should treat like cases alike, so there is a lot of discussion around it. And all the risk factors around data and models, and how can algorithmic biases, etc can be created, how is data itself biased, and if the data itself is biased, how can we make sure that our model is not doing anything which is not taking the right decisions for a group of people or a particular individual, etc. So module 4, and I'm going to get you in each of these modules, each of these topics in as detail as possible as I go through some of these videos in future. So the fourth module is probably, it's called the responsible and ethical AI. Okay, it is very interesting because this is something that I had not read before during my PhD or during some of these other tech discussions that I do with some of these professors. So it talks about some of these I'll say it called as practical ethics theories, and practical ethics is derived from medical ethics. So like in your medical, or when somebody is studying medicine, they stress a lot on medical ethics, that this is what you should do, this is what you should not do. So they talk about this practical ethics, and then there are theories like your consequentialism, or there is a theory called as deontology, or the virtuous, etc. And then there are guidelines or standard operating procedures on what we should do and what we should not do with respect to the responsible and ethical use of AI. Things like autonomy. So you should make sure that at the end of the day, people are making their choices rather than we trying to influence them to make choices. And there are a bunch of other factors. I don't remember all of them right now, but this is what this module talks about. The last module, which is module 5, is more on the regulatory aspects of it. And when I say regulatory aspects, this will have 3 things. One is your data governance, then there is second is your model governance, and your third is your model validation. And then in between these 2 chapters, we will also read about some of these legislatives, which are like your the European AI Act, or your DORA compliance, or your DMA compliance, and then it is also going to get deeper into some of these state level or a region level regulations in the US, because there in the US, something that works in California may not work somewhere else, or the vice versa. So it also talks about some of those regulatory aspects. Okay, so now coming to module 5. Module 5 talks about data governance, model governance, and model validation. And within each of them, there are a lot of things like data governance will have data quality, data provenance, what is the data that we should use, what are all the rights like GDPR rights of people, and when we should delete the data, when we should keep the data, whether it is right to use the data for the purpose for which it was not collected for, etc. So those are some of these these are some of the topics that you will see in this in this exam. Let me tell you one more thing that should also be important, is that generally this portion of the exam is say 8 to 12%. So this is the weightage of this particular portion, module 1. The second module is a huge module, and it covers 25 to 35%. Okay. The third module, which is the risk factor, is going to be between 15 and 25%. So these numbers may add together 100 or not, but this is what is mentioned in the material that you get once you enroll. This fourth module is also same, 25 to 15 to 25%, and the third or the fifth module is also the same, which is 15 to 25%. So this is how things are distributed. So almost everything is 15 to 25%, apart from the first two modules, where the first one is not so much heavy on weightage and the second one is slightly more, and that's also because it has a lot of sub modules as well. So if you are putting say 100 hours, out of those 100 hours, your 50% of your time is going to go to module 2 itself, and the rest of the modules will be the remaining 50%. And one more aspect which I can, based on my experience, I can tell you is that if you come from if you are a PhD like me, or if you are a mathematician, or if you have a master's degree in statistics or applied math, this is going to be an easy module for you. If you come from a non-programming, non-math background, this is going to be the most difficult module for you. And the rest of the modules, I found the last two modules mildly difficult for me, because I'm not too thorough on some of these regulations, and I have not been reading so much and trying to also retain that, okay, this is consequentialist approach, this is this approach, or this is how, if I do my consequentialist approach, my autonomy can get hampered, etc., etc. So based on, but if you are coming from say FRM and those kinds of backgrounds, maybe these two are going to be the most easy modules for you. But overall, the entire course is not that difficult. Now, coming to the exam day, there are 80 questions and 4 hours. And most of the questions, they will check your fundamentals, and this is based on what I could infer. There was no question that was asked which said that, okay, in the GDPR, what is this particular regulation or that particular regulation. There were a few questions. So when I say few, it can be probably 10 or so out of 80 that had some form of calculations, or there can be some questions, maybe 5 or so, which will check that whether your interpretation is right. So let's suppose this is an X and a Y, and if they put some kind of class A here and class B here, and they put some kind of a line like this, they'll say which ones are your support vectors. So if there is a support vector, and if let's suppose this is class A and this is class B, then for class B, whether the equation is less than 0, it's more than 0, or equal to 0. So those kinds of things. So there will be a graph and some kind of interpretations to be resolved. If there is a AUC curve, and if they say, okay, this is how it should be, this is first version, this is second, and maybe there is like this, and they'll say, okay, which one of these curves is going to be best for your fraud detection, where your precision may not be so important as your recall. So those kinds of questions will be there, 4 or 5 of them, and then the remaining questions are mostly scenario based, where they'll say, okay, if this is a scenario, there is a company where people are going to trying to solve this problem, what kind of a metrics they should use, what kind of an algorithm they should use, what kind of data they should use, etc., etc. Few questions are extremely easy. I was able to do everything in say 70 minutes, which is a little more than an hour, so maybe 30% of the time I only used. And some of these pro metrics, they have this policy of not letting you go before you do 90 minutes, so I kept sitting there till 90 minutes and then I left. The results come after a couple of months, so I don't know how well I have done or how bad I have done, but this is a kind of an overview. And if you are interested, I am going to talk in much more detail on each of these modules, right from module 1 to module 5, especially the module 2, which will have module 2.1, module 2.2, each of these things in detail, going in as much depth as you should to pass an exam. And I'll keep all of this on YouTube for free. But if you need to talk to me, let's suppose you go through all of these videos, 50, 60 or whatever is the right count. I have not thought how many videos I should post, but if you go through all of them and you feel that you need to talk to me for some kind of a one-to-one consulting, then I'll tell you if that works, or if that is also free, or if that would need some amount of money. Depends upon how much you want to talk, when do you want to talk, etc., etc. So that's the brief overview. I hope you find it useful, and it will give you some kind of a brief overview of what is there in the box of RAI, whether you should do this or you should not do this. Thank you.